Hello, I'm Elgato, and welcome back to episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I'm playing with the various updates that have come out for Minecraft Bedrock Edition, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, I'm actually going to be working on something brand new, which is kind of relating to finding stuff. My favorite aspect of Minecraft is exploration. It's not something you really have to do too much once you've settled in, but today I do need to explore my end, specifically my end islands, and because of that, I'm going to be going to the end for the first time since 1.10, I do believe, which means we'll be able to see the giant, end build stuff, but we'll be able to see it in the current textures, because obviously the old glass texture and the new glass texture, they're a little different. The old end stone texture, the new end stone texture, they're just a little bit different, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much that actually affects how things do look. So let's go check out the new end for the first time in the new Minecraft 1.14/1.10/R10/ whatever you want to call the update textures. Again, there's a lot we could talk about sort of update names, but today it's not update name talk, it's what's Toycat been up to, as well as I guess existential crisis thoughts, because I wanted to explain the fact that in the past week I've been to Hungary for the first time. I enjoyed it a lot. One of the interesting things about traveling to different places is you get better at predicting what you're going to see, but it's always nice when your expectations are bucked. I would say that's true in general, right? Like when your expectations are exceeded, it's generally a good time. When I was younger, especially a teenager, I'd always have this thing of expect nothing, expect the world to be terrible, expect the world to be maybe some other worlds for terrible, and then when it's not terrible, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Whereas if you expect the world to be great, then everything will either be what you expect or it'll let you down. And I think there's an element of truth to that, like stoicism, or some don't always expect the best, because sometimes bad things do happen. Plan for the, expect the, the best, but plan for the worst. Maybe there's a lot of phrases that basically say, hey, good things sometimes happen. By the way, this end, which I think when you look up close at it, it looks extra fancy. I wouldn't say it looks better or worse. It looks broadly similar, but from a distance, it has more of a shine to it, because you don't notice the white so much. It just looks a bit shinier, I would say. Whereas up close, everything looks much more square and fancier, I would say. It looks like we did more work than we did like this. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe you disagree with that, but I like how this is actually. I think, 50,000, blocks of glass was well placed in this end, I would say. So, oh, by the way, if you haven't watched that video, apparently it's been going fairly viral on the, via the YouTube homepage thing these days. But yeah, it was one of the more fun projects that's taken me a pretty crazy amount of time, if I'm being entirely honest, over the, it took me several months, and it went out a couple weeks ago. It's one of those survival projects where it's for the sake of video, it was a terrible use of time and effort, right? I put, months of, hours a day and stuff into a video, but it seems as though people enjoyed it in the end, and it's nice when, even though it doesn't pay off as much as is economically viable, when something that you did a lot of work or effort into is, perceived as well by a lot of people. Speaking of things I put a lot of work and effort into, let's talk about the opposite of that, because by the way, today we're placing netherrack and inventory. We can't load it up without causing a huge stir, but that will come up later. Today I wanted to talk about not only, this netherrack pathway, which will go on for quite some time, by the way, so be ready for that. I'm going to open my inventory right now and just show you, because I hope I have food with me, which if I don't, we have to go back. But we got some cooked mutton. We're going to get that out because, again, we want to avoid opening our inventory until, for as long as humanly possible, and look for some end cities while we talk about Hungary, because, yeah, once you've been to a lot of places, you can start to expect things, and one of the things that I generally expect in Eastern Europe is oh yeah, there's a lot of things that are similar between most Eastern European countries I've been to. I've been to Poland, I've been to Czechia, both, pretty great countries, enjoy them both, but you can see the similarities, even with Serbia, which is different communist, because, again, not to go too far into Eastern European and the differences, the differences in the East-West Europe, etc. But oh yeah, well, there's a lot of differences, and how it was implemented. But you can see how there's still a scar that's on the country, and you see that in Hungary too. But one of the things I think is always interesting is oh yeah, Hungary was so much, even though I was expecting pretty nice, it was oh yeah, it's really good. The food there was even better than normal. There's again, this is offensive maybe to anyone who watches me from Eastern Europe, but there's a lot of food from the east of Europe that is sad. I would describe it as sad looking. Some of it tastes good, some of it just tastes bland. There's less flavor, in a lot of foods. Whereas I went to Hungary, less sweet flavor, I would say. Whereas in Hungary, I had so many absurdly sweet and absurdly tasty things. There's this type of flatbread that's basically a pizza. It's called langos, and I had that in a burger, and it's one of the best things I've eaten this month. But I was in Japan a month ago. So anyway, with that said, long story short, liked Hungary a lot. If you haven't been to Hungary, and you have the opportunity opportunity to, which, I mean, if we're being honest, isn't like a huge number of people, you should check it out. But yeah, one side note, by the way, because I mentioned like, oh yeah, forming communist, this, that, scar. I do want to just mention it's interesting because whenever I go to like a forming communist country, that's where like anti-communism is the highest, and that's also just a weird thought here that like, it's always interesting to me that like the people who are most interested in a thing are the people who, you know, weren't destroyed by the thing. I guess I want to just say real quick, because I've been mentioning like geopolitics in recent videos because it's been like a 2cat crossover. I don't talk politics. I don't care what you think on the political spectrum. I don't care which of the 2 major parties in whatever country you live in you vote for. It's not my thing. It's not what we talk about. You know, we play Minecraft for the most part here. It's not my it's not my interest. I don't have the right to tell you what to do or what to think. Unlike most social media influencers think they do. However, the thing that I think we should all agree on is like, hey, you shouldn't be super crazy. You know, far left or far right. Like, don't be a Nazi. Don't be, you know, like at least the historical version of a communist, because that's where all the people died. I'm cool with you as long as you don't want to kill millions of people. That's my, you know how people say like, I'm cool with you as long as you're cool with me. I'm cool with you as long as you're cool with me, and also you probably should not want to kill millions of people openly. I mean, that's my my controversial pick right here. So yeah, fun facts of Toycat before we talk about existential crises, because, you know, what does it matter if we kill millions of people if the universe is going to do it anyway, right? And yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Great Filter, because I find discussing aliens to be just a fascinating a subject you can talk about forever, because, you know, most people on the low level, people are like, oh yeah, aliens totally exist. No, they don't exist. There's no proof they exist. You know, there's a lot of things where we have no proof they exist and we believe in them anyway. It's like, oh, wait, we can bring that back to our previous thing. Like good communism, ha 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 ha. Okay, so, but no, there's a lot of things that people believe in, and, you know, that's fine, whatever. If you believe aliens exist on the planet and that they've been probing us for years, that's an interesting opinion to have. I think it's generally accepted by the majority of human beings that there are no aliens right now, and we have never had a proper recollection, a proper interaction between our species and any aliens. We've never seen them, they've never seen us. There's just this void where we know there's life on Earth, but we don't believe, we haven't seen life anywhere else in the universe. And the question this raises is really interesting, because on a statistical level, there are millions of planets in the galaxy, and there are hundreds of millions of galaxies like in our cluster, and then outside our cluster there's even more. You know, we don't know how many galaxies, but probably even more, hundreds of millions or billions of galaxies. Basically, there's lots of planets with lots of solar systems, and just by pure chance, even if we exclude the fact that like life can probably develop in different forms to us, carbon-based life that is like us should develop somewhere. In fact, life that is exactly humans. The universe is big enough that statistically speaking, humans exactly like us should be somewhere in the universe. We don't know where. We might not be able to directly see it because, you know, universe is a big place. But theoretically, again, just on the statistical level, if the universe is randomly distributed, or even if it's not, there should be, you know, some humans or some just life forces elsewhere in the universe. Like, it's interesting to think about. But the question is, why haven't we seen them? Why haven't they seen us? If they exist, you know, like they should have gone to the stage where they can go to other planets. Why, you know, once you go to enough planets, you should be seen somewhere. Why have we not seen them? Why have they not seen us? Why have we not interacted, etc., etc.? And there's like 3 plausible answers to this, and they're all terrifying, like things that, like, every time I think about this, I go into like a spiral of like which of the 3 is most likely. And each of the times I think about it, I come up with a different answer, because, you know, the first thought is like, okay, well, it's clear, right? What happens is aliens, you know, when they exist, you know, whenever life force exists anywhere in the galaxy, what happens is something, you know, like, sorry, whatever happens. So the first explanation is, when we are the first life force, there will be life force elsewhere in the galaxy eventually. It takes millions, billions of years to develop, and no other planet has gone through those billions of years yet. We got lucky that it happened already. It might take trillions of years for the process to start. Like, because, you know, life starting is a big set of coincidences. Okay, so that's one theory. We're the first, but we're not the last. We just happen to have a head start on everyone. But that's really unlikely too, because if there's, you know, a million, you know, potential life planets out there, we happen to start at first. You know, assuming you're the best out of a million, without any proof to, you know, like for that to happen, it's not a good theory. It's a good way to, you know, discount other theories, but that's why one of the other 2 things I'm about to mention is way more likely. Because, again, the Fermi paradox, whole fun thing, basically means that something something else is out there, but they're hiding from us. So there are kind of two ways around this. One is either that because, if you don't know, things are millions of light years away. Theoretically, when we see something that's so far away, we're seeing it from the past. This is hard to like properly comprehend, but there are if something is a million light years away, we see it a million years ago because the light from that galaxy, from that planet, takes a million years to reach us. And because of this, there's the interesting thing of like, so if they're a million years away, a light years away, we see what happened there a million years ago. A million years is a long time. Life could have developed and we're just not seeing it because we're looking from so long ago. In the same way, if they're looking at us from their galaxy that's now quite well developed, they look a million years ago, what do you even see? You don't see Bronze Age civilization. You see like humans in caves, I want to say, like pre-agricultural, pre-anything, like humans with tribes with no real languages. Like they think we're savages and they think, let's not go to those savages. Although I guess if they're advanced enough, they might be able to work out, like, actually, that means they're likely to develop soon. But, when they look at us, they see cavemen. When we look at them, we see nothing because they've developed in that time. That's a possible theory, or, the fact that either that or they're hiding from us actively, like, oh, we have realized the gap. Because as soon as you get to the stage where you can go to other planets, or as soon as you see your first civilization that is trying to kill another one, you'll be like, oh, that's not good. Think about, I guess, like, I don't know, like the Native American population and the first settlers to the Americas. It's like, wait a minute, the first moment we get there, so the first moment you see what happens to someone else, you're gonna not want to encounter these foreign people anymore. Like this is just gonna seem like a real bad idea, for the most part. Also, this line goes on for a lot longer than I realized. We went for a serious amount of time, it seems, but we're going longer today. Anyway, so that's a possible theory. Like, what if, that's just the case? Also, I think we should just start going sideways. Like, even though this straight line is really enjoyable to look at, let's just start going sideways. Let's just get some stuff done. So, the second, possible theory is they're hiding from us because they are scared of other things attacking them. And think about the way humans are in particular. Like, we might be the most warlike of species. Like, people might look at us and realize that eventually what's going to happen there is there's going to be this absolutely terrifying thing happening. Like they might be able to look at, they might be able to, work out based on our tribe nature where we're just killing each other rather than cooperating. So yeah, there's the real possibility that for some reason, whatever that reason may be, that there is something out there. It knows we're here, or maybe it doesn't know we're here, but under the possibility that we're or something else is out there, they're just hiding. Because think about it, in a place where there are millions of different potential, species, some of which are good, some of which are bad, you don't want to just broadcast your location. Think about a world where, for some reason, every single person has the ability to kill any other person, like, on sight. Like, just by having another human look at you, they can kill you. Wouldn't you want to just immediately, like, hide in a cave somewhere, make sure that no one can even look at you? Because, all it takes is one rogue person, your entire, species is gone, and if your entire species is gone when you do that, then, it makes it unlikely that you'll want to stick around. So it could be that there is lots of life out there that they're trying to hide. In the same way that during World War II, you might not be familiar with this fact, but during the Blitz, when both the UK and Germany, and lots of other countries, but mostly the UK and Germany were bombing each other a lot, civilian populations. This also happened in Hawaii, I want to say. They had to black out, their curtains. Like, all the light at night, there were no street lights. A lot of people died just because, cars couldn't see each other, but that was a worthwhile trade-off to like, oh yeah, but at least this way, we don't get seen by the bombers, which can do way more damage. And on an interplanetary scale, we don't know what warfare like that looks like, but it might be that a planet is a super vulnerable way to have things be, because the way space works means that, you can see them from all sides. And again, it just doesn't seem like it's a particularly safe thing to just have your location be known to everyone. So maybe, in the future, we'll work out a way to hide our planet and we'll work out if that's a smart move. Or maybe the fact that we haven't worked out a way to hide our planet means the next thing, the last possible thing, the Great Filter, the thing that scares me the most whenever I think about it, because being alone in the universe is scary. Being the first people to go into this world, it's sometimes cool to think about and sometimes scary. But the most likely thing, the Great Filter, the thing I wanted to talk about, is the thing that I guess I fear the most of all of this. Also, it takes this long to open my inventory, just because of 2 shulker boxes filled with Netherrack. It's a really bizarre, I would call it a bug, but it's been in the game for like literally a month now. Like, I don't think they care enough to fix it. Like, it's like, well, I mean, those shulker box users, they've got too much time on their hands if they're collecting shulker boxes anyway. And that's actually what we're doing today, by the way. But yeah, anyway, so to go back to the thing, it's like, yeah, the most scary but also probably possible theory is the fact that some filter in society, something that life does gets life to the stage where it never goes beyond its own planet, or even that it doesn't live on its own planet anymore. And so one of the theories behind this, if you're into that sort of thing, is maybe every species, to get the energy to go off to another planet, has to destroy its original planet, and once you do that, you lose a lot of the benefits of it, etc., etc. And something climate change, right? Like, oh yeah, we are pretty good at destroying planets. That is one of our favorite things to do. So maybe that's what happens. Like, after a certain amount of time, the species just destroys its own planet, or that's like one way I think about it. But maybe what happens is the species gets so good. Like, think about economic growth. People say all the time, it really annoys me, and I've said before, but infinite economic growth isn't possible, despite the fact that that's the trend we've been on since the dawn of humanity. Like, every year we don't just get better at doing things. We get like an exponential amount better. Like, we get 2% better every year, but we do that 40 years in a row, and that doubles. It's not like it's a fixed amount per year we get better. We get better in percentage terms each year. And because of that, we're doing better and better and better things. And in a certain amount of time, we'll reach a world where humans don't need to do anything. There's just enough, like right now, if you live in most rich countries, starving isn't really a threat anymore. Think about that. Like, oh, yeah, you don't, like, if you need food, at least in the UK, there are places you can just go, no questions asked. They'll just give you food. It's like, it's a thing. Like, there's a shame factor to going there. Humans naturally don't want to. That's how the system works. Like, why would anyone go, to a store when there's free food? Because again, most people would prefer to, feed for themselves or whatever if they can. So, like, yeah, it's hard to, die of starvation. It's hard to die of thirst. It costs 18 pence for a bottle of water, and also taps are free, and also anywhere you walk into in the UK, legally obligated to give you some tap water. It's hard to die of thirst in the modern age, or die of diseases related to that. There are so many causes of death we wipe out, like, before the whole vaccine thing, we'd wiped out a lot of diseases, and some of them are coming back, but, like, we destroy diseases, we destroy hunger and thirst. Dying in the modern age, like, suicide is one of the leading causes of death. We're getting better at killing ourselves, but the world is getting worse at killing us every single year. So this is something that raises the question of, like, well, if we're getting better and better at doing the things we want to do, i.e. play video games, watch YouTube videos about aliens, but if we're getting better and better at the things we want to do, it stands to the reason that when we have infinite energy and infinite money, infinite resources, maybe we just create a new world, we invent a new whatever, and we live in that instead. Imagine this, like, if you could live in a simulated life where you had everything you wanted, but you still got fulfillment, because the one reason you wouldn't, I've said this before, but if you had infinite money, it wouldn't be happy, because a lot of people need a drive, a reason to go forwards. Like, Notch isn't unhappy billionaire, not because, like, he's just ungrateful for it, but because I think being a billionaire doesn't equal happiness. I think it almost has more responsibilities with it. Like, but if you live in a world where you could create a brain, or you could relieve yourself of those obligations, just have the happy parts of life on repeat over and over again, maybe that's what most species would like. Maybe that's where most things go. Like, maybe there's a great filter in the sense that no species wants to go to another planet, or can't. Like, they destroy their own planet, or they just don't really want to anymore. And it's super weird to imagine that, just like, oh yeah, it's a real possibility that sometimes species just decide, what is this all about? Why are we doing this again? And they give up for that reason. Again, strange to think about, but it's not an impossibility. It's a very much plausibility. But the scariest one to me is that there is a great filter in the form of so again, this is kind of combining three things at once. This is a lot of games. Mass Effect has this in their lore. I think Warhammer 40,000 has this in their lore as the Eldar. But there are, not the Eldar, the Necrons. But there is also a possibility that whoever was the first species, if there is an infinite number of life forms, an infinite number of planets, or even just a million to keep things simple and countable, if there's a million different species on a million different planets, one of those did have to be first. It's unlikely they developed at the same time because of the amount of dice rolls that had to happen and go well. So if there is a different if there is a first species, maybe they didn't get like a few thousand years advantage, maybe they didn't get a few million years advantage, maybe they got a few billion year advantages. Like, it took several billion years for the planet we live on, Earth, to be livable, and it took billions of years after that before anything human-like came along. Imagine if in those billions of years, there is some alien species that came, got to their height, colonized and conquered most of the universe, and now they're the only thing they need to do to keep themselves safe is to destroy, because it's not worth their time to destroy every planet's life force. It takes a lot of energy and effort to do that. In the same way, there are still humans on islands we haven't conquered because it's just not worthwhile for humans to do. Like, think about that place where the pastor went once and like he died. Like, there are still places that it's just not worth it for us as humans to go to. Because again, like, and we have all the reasons to go to these places. In the same way, like, maybe there's an alien species out there that just really, really, really doesn't want to go around eliminating all the life, so they wait till life gets to the stage where it might threaten them, and then it wipes it out. Maybe the Great Filter is a literal filter that has some, there's some metrics they can work out. Maybe it's the number of life beings, maybe it's the amount of development, like when they hit a certain technology. Once they've gone to a second planet, they're too dangerous. Whatever the criteria may be, maybe there is something out there, some literal filter where every single alien species ever has been vanquished by. There is something, or someone, or some group that just stops any form of development happening if it's not from their own... Oh, we found an entity. If it's not from their own race, their own people. And that's the one I always come down to thinking is the most likely. I don't know if it is the most likely. I think it is just the one that shows up immediately the most because it gives you a bad guy, like a villain to go after. But I think it really makes sense because if it's not true, if there isn't a grand first alien species to go after, you can easily imagine that happening with us, right? If you imagine we're first, we're somehow the first life in the universe to get to the stage where we'll go to another planet, because we're going to Mars soon, and Mars will be colonized in the next, if not 50 years, then 100 years. But Mars will be planet V2, right? It's going to be like the days of exploring new things. And once we've gone to Mars, the possibilities there are more limited, but still 2-planet species, and eventually a 2-solar system species, and eventually, like 2 galaxy species, because the Alpha Centauri, if you don't know, I want to say it's the nearest galaxy of like a planet that's Earth-like. It's only like 25 light years away, I want to say, or it's within reasonable reach of once we've gone fast stuff. So once we've been there, and we've gone to the stage where we're interplanetary, which is happening real soon, maybe we find out we're first, and maybe when we find our first alien life, we're friendly, right? We're like, oh yeah, let's make friends of you. What have you got going on? But again, based on human nature, human history, it seems like we don't do great when we encounter other people who have valuable things that we might want that they're not willing to give to us. Because usually, the solution to this, the reason that, like trade is a good thing is because both sides get something good. But maybe these aliens don't want anything from us, so we can't trade with them. And maybe we do some bad things to them. Or maybe they initiate the aggression. Whichever reason it is, as soon as we have a bad interaction with an alien species, 2 things will happen. One, which I think is actually kind of like a positive thing, I think the first thing that will happen is it'll be the thing that bands humanity together. Like right now, a lot of humans hate a lot of different humans. Like there are things people you hate. Like, oh yeah, isn't that Middle East crisis so bad? Like ISIS sure are bad. Within your own country, every 4 years or 5 years, you have a giant election where you think, man, that other half of the population sure does suck. Again, I don't get involved in that, but people get really passionate about how much they hate people who disagree with them on this one, particular issue. Think about how much humans divide ourselves down the lines. And like, for instance, racism, sexism, like there are lots of different categories where it's like, oh yeah, there is a best answer and it's our people, but your people suck. They're not as good as us. It's depressingly common, but it's how a lot of people really think. Like, oh yeah, the good people, our side, and the evil people, their side. There are so many different things you can split humans down where they really think that, and it's scary to me. But one of the things that will happen, as soon as we find aliens, humanity can actually come together. Like, oh yeah, because, we make in-groups and out-groups. The out-group can finally be the aliens, like, oh man, aliens sure are awful. But us humans, we are great. That's a thing we know. So that's a thing that happens immediately, which I think is kind of cool. But also, we immediately have now negatively painted any other life force we found in the universe. And maybe we go around, we decide, oh yeah, the thing that's best for human survival, because humans are what we care about. We don't care about, other animals. As a good example of this, I read a story recently, you can probably look it up if you want to verify this is real, but a dog bit an 18-month-old girl, and the police is like, we've destroyed the dog. Like, that was in the news story. It's like, oh yeah, you just, of course you destroy the, like, even though we like dogs, we like humans a lot more. And that's dogs, like the animal we like the most. Think about the calculations we make regarding parrots' lives, or, you know, like koala bears on a daily basis. Like, of course humans are more important than kangaroos or panda bears or anything else like that. Like, we kill a lot of species as humanity, but we get a lot out of it for us, you know. A lot of people like to act like, oh yeah, we're killing the panthers, it sucks. It's like, no, we're killing the panthers because that allows us to save millions more humans, or even just hundreds more humans. Like, indirectly, we're not doing things for no reason. We don't kill because we like to kill. We kill because it's the safest for us. And maybe that's what we decide is best to do with all other life we find. After the first, or even, you know, maybe we're scientific. We wait till the first few life things have come and gone. But maybe after a certain amount of interaction with other species, we just decide they're all bad, and we start killing them all, or subjugating them all, or whatever it is. Maybe we become the bad guys in this. And honestly, here's the scary thing. I think that's the happiest solution to the problem I raised at the start of this video. Like, if there are millions of species, different life forms out there, and if there is some way for them to interact eventually, which statistically there would be, because, again, eventually, based on our understanding, is eventually you will be able to get to interplanetary, communication. Once that happens, either there's a bad guy out there, or we become the bad guy, is the only logical conclusion to me. And I think, therefore, it's less scary to want to become the bad guy in this situation. I'm not too sure. That's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit today. Again, it was on my mind because it came up recently as like oh yeah, the Great Filter. It's a real possibility. There's a lot of sci-fi that explores it, and it's becoming more and more real. Like, you know, we are going to Mars. We are going to become officially an interplanetary species. And that's something I thought I was only excited about that, but there are lots of people on Earth that are like, heck yeah, we're finally doing cool things. We're achieving things again. Rather than thinking, oh, you know what would be really great is if we stuck exactly where we are right now. Some people get like that, but a lot of people resent the idea of success. A lot of people resent the idea of things being done that are great without them, or, that they feel like are at their expense. So, well, I mean, it might be cool that Elon Musk is going to Mars, but you know what's way cooler? I went to the store today, and I didn't even use a bag. Is that impressive? Actually, no. Fun fact: I don't use a bag when I go to the store. It's like it's both like a environmentally saving measure. It's also a saves money measure because they cost 5 or 10p in here now, and it's also a cool way, just in case you are a single person, like a single individual, a single home liver like me. If you need to cook for just one person, you don't need a lot of food. So having going to the store without a bag means you have to hold everything, and that means you don't buy too much, because everyone has this problem. Don't try to pretend you've never had this problem where you go to the store and you buy too much. You get home, you're like, man, I'm just gonna eat this because I guess I have it, and that's bad logic. That's not good. That's not what we want. So yeah, fun fact. Oh god, that was terrifying. See, there are so many weird bugs in this update that haven't been fixed. But yeah, that was a little side note off a side note. But yeah, the Great Filter is, it sounds like it's like an EU law, and maybe it would be better if it was, but it's a real question with a real answer that we have no idea how to work out for a very long time. Although it is worth mentioning, I guess, that realistically what the Great Filter might be is just there are so many things that can kill us, and that statistically will kill us on a timescale. Once you go past hundreds of millions of years, oh yeah, eventually our sun will collapse. Eventually, it's called a gamma ray. There's just a chance that there's a gamma ray. They'll just blow through, destroy everything we know, boil us all in an instant. We have no idea it's coming. It can just happen at any time and kill you. By the way, be scared of that. Roaming black holes, same thing. Just one day, you might be stretched and die seconds later. There are so many things like that. But the truth is, the reason we're not scared about these, scientists and us, is partly because we can't really control it. But also partly because of the fact that, if, realistically speaking, there are many things that can instantly kill you. And those are the things we should be worried about. If you feel worried that, oh yeah, well, gamma ray might get you, maybe you should worry more about, oh yeah, how you risk your life every time you drive that car because someone else could decide to kill you. Maybe if you just did that slightly less, that would be a better impact. But somehow, humans and risks, like, we like to control risks. We're fine with taking risks as long as we feel in control, even if we're objectively not. Whereas when you get to the grand scale of like life and humanity, we take very different decisions, and sometimes that's for the better, sometimes that's for the worst, and sometimes that might lead to us eliminating a galaxy full of creatures. And again, that might be the better. I really do think about it. It's like, you know, maybe us being the bad guys isn't a bad thing. Like, on the one hand, it sucks to be the villain because we as humanity like to construct narratives and weave different stories where we are the good guys. But maybe, oh, we found another end city. I think it's definitely a different one, right? Yeah, we found another one. So look at this. We're doing pretty great today. Feeling good about this. And hopefully you're feeling good about watching this video. If you are, you can like and let me know. You can share if you really liked it, subscribe if you're around here, and turn those notifications if you want to see more videos. Thank you very much for watching this, because I'm going to see you all next time. Goodbye.